Stephen Curry is off to the best start of his career on the biggest stage. With the superstar's incredible performance in his 6th NBA Finals, there's a reason he's now the betting favorite to win the ultimate Finals MVP that he's yet to get his hands on. Here's a closer look at how the two-time MVP has changed his game and blazed through Boston's vaunted D. First up, Curry is picking apart the Celtics. The Warriors lost Game 1 of the NBA Finals in epic fashion, but Curry led all scorers with 34 points on 7 for 14 on three-point range shooting. He then scored 29 points in Golden State's win in Game 2, nailing on 5 more triples. Curry has now scored 63 points in 70 minutes against the NBA's greatest defense this season. It's also the most points he's ever had in 2 finals games, which is even more impressive given that he sat the whole fourth quarter of Game 2. Next, Curry's biggest adjustment in the NBA Finals. There's no denying that Curry's versatility is what makes him the greatest shooter of all time. When most players are more comfortable shooting one particular way or another, whether on the move, off the dribble, or off the catch, our boy Curry, the chef, can do it all. On offense, the Warriors make the most of this by using him as both a point guard and a shooting guard. He'll run a pick and roll with Draymond Green one play, then fly off a pin down like he's 6'2" version of Klay Thompson the next. So Curry's scoring in the 21-22 regular season was pretty balanced, but in the playoffs, not so much. He's still tearing down defenders with his movement, but he's not scoring as frequently off the ball. Curry's instead basically taking matters into his own hands, literally, very literally. According to Instat, the young star is running nearly twice as many pick and rolls in the NBA Finals as he did during the regular season, continuing a trend that started in the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. Curry has long been one of the league's most efficient pick and roll scorers because of everything he does away from the ball. He doesn't rely on them as much as Trae Young, Luka Doncic, and Damian Lillard. But it's not all that easy. The Celtics are better positioned to defend those actions than almost every other squad. Marcus Smart not only matches up effectively with Curry one-on-one, but their ability to switch practically everything makes it tricky for Curry to get loose when working off of screens. When Curry doesn't have the ball on him, Smart will be glued to his hip no matter where he is on the court. When Curry gets a screen, the Celtics nearly always switch to keep him from getting any daylight and forcing someone else to beat them. The Celtics will also switch pick and rolls, but it's more challenging to keep the ball out of Curry's hands in such situations since, well, he already has the ball in his hands. Al Horford and Grant Williams are 2 of the league's best switching bigs, but Curry made it look like a child's game attacking them in Game 2. The Celtics, on the other hand, don't switch every pick and roll though. In Game 2, they used a variety of coverages against Curry in an attempt to keep him off balance, but then there's not much the Celtics can show him that he hasn't seen before throughout his career. Just feel in matchups, and you know the series is going to go, Curry said when asked about his liking for pick and rolls versus the Celtics. There will be adjustments and new looks, adding that they can create a lot of solid shots if they get into those one-on-one matchups and play make out of them while also reading the defense well. Next, Curry dominates Boston's bigs. In the first quarter of Game 1, Curry was seen taking advantage of the Celtics pick and rolls. They've gotten better at meeting him higher up on the floor, but his comfort pulling up from deep puts a lot of pressure on Boston's bigs. And it doesn't help that Robert Williams III hasn't been himself through 2 finals games yet. He's still making plays near the rim, but that darn knee pain he's been battling, which appears to have robbed him of some of his mobility. Of course, if the screener's defender slides too far or traps the Golden State star, the role is then freed up. And ultimately, this is exactly what makes Curry one of the greatest players of all time. He's a threat from everywhere. The stat sheet just tells part of the story of how much he affects the game, and he has the ability to scale up and down as needed. And now with the finals tied 1-1, it will be interesting to see how the Celtics guard him the rest of the way. Next, Golden State solid game adjustment. Most of the squad's adjustments clearly intend to send Udoka back to the drawing board. The Warriors adjusted their defensive coverage to favor Boston's perimeter shooters, latching onto them more than in Game 1, but also showing a greater willingness to accept whatever Tatum could earn for himself offensively. Most evidently, Horford, who was overshadowed by Thompson and a handful of other Warriors throughout the game, didn't receive a single shot from deep in Game 2 after shooting a career-high 6 triples in Game 1. Horford failed to hit a three-pointer for the first time all postseason. Now, Celtics many turnovers. Playing higher up on almost everyone other than Tatum gave those guys less room to breathe, resulting in turnover after turnover after turnover for Boston. Overall, the Celtics gave up 18 points, including more in the third period, which was 5 more than Boston had buckets, about 4, which the Warriors capitalized on for 33 points, the second highest total in NBA Finals history. The game was effectively won or lost, depending on your perspective, at that single data point, especially because because both teams shot 15 for 37 from three-pointers. Next, Curry-Green partnership. Green took just 3 shots in Game 2 after taking 12 in Game 1, many of them awkward-looking in an apparent win for the Boston defense. Yet, he played with a drive to impact the game elsewhere. With his toughness and highly charged emotions, and he consistently created gaps for Curry, who picked his spots and eventually took the Celtics apart with his high screen and rolls in the third quarter. Yes, Green had moments when he looked like a downfield lineman, but it helped in pulling the Warriors' offense out of the mud and putting the game away, showing what Golden State intended to do following its dominant third quarter in Game 1. He also did a good job defensively against Brown, who started hot but eventually cooled off entirely over the final 3 quarters. Now enter Gary Payton II. Throwing in Gary Payton II, who sat out Game 1, was another huge change made by the Warriors, not only because he offers Golden State with another solid defensive player, though the much taller Tatum hit a couple shots over top of him, but also because of the juice he offers the Golden State in transition and as a talented passer into tight, congested windows. Payton mainly vacuumed the minutes left by Andre Iguodala, who returned to the lineup for Game 1 but did not play in Game 2. But Payton's presence helps Kerr to avoid having to stick with Thompson over some difficult offensive stints. Here's another fun fact. Combinations featuring Payton, Stephen Curry, Otto Porter Jr. outscored Boston by 16 points in just under 13 minutes of action, so you can say it has some teamwork through and through. Now in other news, Curry's ready to play with an injury. Despite performing incredibly well, Curry's status was in the air, suffering an injury late in the fourth quarter of Game 3, thanks to Boston Celtics forward Al Horford rolling on his knee. What we saw next was the young star sitting on the floor for a few moments, shrieking in pain before rising with a limp. And later, when he arrived at the news conference room after the game, he was still walking gingerly, sending fans into a frenzy. But then he soon appeared to be walking normally the following Thursday, which was a rest and recovery day for the Warriors. Thankfully though, the Golden State superstar has confirmed that he'll be playing in the NBA Finals Game 4 on Friday with or without injury. Next, Green gets cussed out. Despite Curry being the main worry for the Celtics throughout the NBA Finals, it was Draymond Green who turned out to be public enemy number 1. We all saw how Green was involved in 2 incidents in the first half of Game 2, earning a technical foul after a scuffle with Grant Williams and missing a second technical foul after a skirmish with Jaylen Brown. Green's plan of getting under the skin of the Celtics and their fans, if there was one, proved successful. The forward was a victim of some pretty shameful and not safe for work profanity by the fans that shocked everyone. Thompson was also clearly unhappy with how the crowd behaved and called them rude and disrespectful for their actions. Up next, NBA angers China again. Speaking of rude, the NBA seems to have ticked off China lately. Commissioner Adam Silver told reporters that China's reaction to former Houston Rockets general manager Daryl Morey's support for anti-government Hong Kong protesters in 2019 cost the league millions of dollars. Morey tweeted an image in 2019 with the caption, "Fight for your freedom, take a stand with Hong Kong," and then eventually deleted the tweet and apologized for offending Rocket fans or his Chinese friends. The 18-month blackout cost the league millions, but despite apologizing and backtracking on the statement, the NBA claims it remains committed to free speech for all. Yeah, right. Anyway, that's a wrap for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.